Article 11. Situations of risk and humanitarian emergencies. This article begins with one comment in a panel. People still don't realise what deaf means to them because deaf is an invisible disability. The lack of New Zealand Sign Language interpreters in emergencies warning disasters is concerning. Survey respondent. Introduction. Article 11 requires governments to take all necessary measures to protect and ensure the safety of disabled people during situations of risk, including armed conflict, humanitarian emergencies, and natural disasters. As noted in the introduction, this report was largely finalised prior to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The IMM acknowledges that this crisis has been keenly felt by disabled New Zealanders. Rather than delay release of the report, the decision was made to instead focus the IMM's efforts on a COVID-19 themed report based on disabled people's experiences and the government's response to disability communities' needs during this time. Work on this report is underway. General comment. The duty to protect and ensure the safety of disabled people during situations of risk must be carried out, taking into account obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law and human rights law. Importance of Article 11 to disabled people in New Zealand. The Canterbury earthquakes in 2010 and 2011 and the more recent mosque attacks in March 2019 brought into focus the importance of Article 11 for disabled New Zealanders. Disabled people need to get the same information as everyone else on what measures and precautions they need to take during an emergency situation in a way that they can understand and at the same time as everybody else. Current place of Article 11 in law and practice. Situations of risk and natural disasters exacerbate everyday difficulties for disabled people, including poorly designed or inaccessible public buildings, facilities and services. Following the Canterbury earthquakes, the Kanohi Ki Te Kanohi Consultancy, EndNote 99, set up the Earthquake Disability Leadership Group. The original focus of this group was to ensure the Christchurch rebuild was inclusive of and accessible to disabled people. In 2016, the group was transformed into a charitable trust and took on a New Zealand-wide role. The Office for Disability Issues published information for disaster preparedness for disabled people as part of New Zealand's Get Ready Week. EndNote 100. In addition, the Get Ready website has information relating to disaster preparedness for people with a number of impairments. EndNote 101. In September 2019, CBM-NZ, EndNote 102, organised both a study tour and a Disability Inclusive Disaster Risk Reduction, DIDRR, round table. This round table brought together two disabled people-led organisations, the Pacific Disability Forum, colleagues from the Philippines and representatives from across the New Zealand government. During the round table, a toolkit on DIDRR was shared with participants. EndNote 103. Committee's previous dialogue with the state on Article 11. The Disability Committee made no concluding observations on Article 11 in its 2014 Concluding Observations on New Zealand. However, in its resolution 28/4, EndNote 104, the Human Rights Council requested the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights to prepare a study on Article 11 of the Disability Convention on situations of risk and humanitarian emergencies in consultation with states and other relevant stakeholders. EndNote 105. Comment on the realisation of Article 11 in New Zealand. The Canterbury earthquakes of 2010 and 2011 have brought the issue of DIDRR more sharply into focus in New Zealand. Disabled New Zealanders face more challenges than non-disabled New Zealanders after a disaster and during the recovery phase, such as a lack of information in accessible formats, inaccessible facilities and services, and difficulty accessing appropriate support services. There is an international push to design and implement disability-inclusive disaster risk reduction and resilience practices, and this has been addressed in the National Disaster Resilience Strategy, End Note 106. The Human Rights Commission's Monitoring Human Rights in the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery report makes it clear that New Zealand needs to prioritise the needs of disabled people in the DIDRR work. End Note 107. Recommendations. The IMM recommends that the government 33. Continue to work with the DPO Coalition on Disability-Inclusive Disaster Risk Reduction, DIDRR, and that the work should expand to provide a comprehensive response to a range of humanitarian risk and natural disasters. 34. Develop and promote schemes that proactively support increasing resilience for disabled individuals, families, groups and communities to mitigate the risks and impacts of natural disasters or other humanitarian emergencies.